Okay, so what is your name? You don't
My
have to say like your
my
full name
I
or
was not about to do that. Latinos have like six
yeah.
names now.
Well, you can
Um,
if you want to.
I don't have six. But yeah, my name is Yefree Montoya. I always say it's Jeffrey though because my mom spelled it differently.
Yeah.
It's Yefree, and yeah,
That's a common thing. Like Jessica.
or
um,
Yasmin.
yeah. Or like I don't know. I was gonna say Yose. No, I've never heard
I
that
don't
though.
know,
I just
maybe
made
not.
that up.
But yeah, I always have they could never get it right at Starbucks for sure.
My
Look at
mom
that one.
also
Look, look,
can't get that right.
that coffee.
What?
I got it
Oh
earlier.
yeah, they spelled it right. Well,
No,
that's
they
because
didn't.
well, they put the Y.
They know me, but other than that, they would still get it wrong.
Yeah, I know. I have to tell my mom like constantly. She's like, Jeffrey? I'm like, it's Jeffrey. You already know that. I don't know why you keep messing it up. She used to do that with all my friends, though.
I've worked with the same people for the last 6 years. They still don't get it right at
Yeah.
all. Not even close.
Well, it's like that for me, but people will call me Alexa. Yeah. Like as if I'm,
Hey Alexa.
yeah, like if I'm part of the Amazon app. Okay. So we'll just do an icebreaker. If you were a stripper, what would your name be?
Damn. I, I remember getting that question ahead of time, huh? Hmm.
Did
I
you prepare
remember
for that?
I did not, but I read through it once and that's it. I didn't go back to look at it. I like
I know
doing
you didn't
things.
even give me any feedback. I was like, does he not like these questions?
I mean, I do. I mean, it's
Okay.
just I've been kind of semi busy, or
Okay.
I just didn't make
I
time
thought
for
you
that.
had all the time in the world.
Yeah,
I
of
thought you
course.
were just lounging
Yeah,
around.
we all do, right?
Okay.
Um, so I remember when I was in high school. I
Yeah.
remember I used to go out partying pretty often every week, and we started a party crew, back in the
Okay.
day.
Yeah. Did you sell like Nas?
Yes, once,
Okay.
twice, and then I got. That's a different story. But anyway, I
You
had
could
a,
go
I had a,
into
I
that
had I
story.
had a nickname,
Uh-huh.
so I guess that would be my stripper
What was your
nickname.
nickname?
And I don't know how this name started, but it was Phaser.
Phaser. So I got okay, that's a good
I
stripper
mean,
name
why?
actually.
Like
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. So I mean, might as well something that they used to call me at the party crew.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I actually never thought about like what male strippers' names would be. But that actually sounds like a good stripper name.
Right? But about the story that
Yeah.
so
How was that?
we sold Nos one time, actually twice, and then the one time that I did sell a lot, I think like within 2 hours we sold like $400.
Yeah.
3 for 5, whatever. Um, we still had some Nas left, so we were supposed to meet up with some other friends at the park in
Yeah.
Highland Park. The which one was it? Cypress Park? No, no, no. Griffin
Gr-
on Griffin,
Okay.
right by our house.
Yeah.
By Avenue 52. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Griffin, I was like by the freeway, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm getting off the freeway, and actually I'm not driving. My buddy's driving. He's driving a stick shift car,
Hmm.
and then we still had the NOS tank in the back, and for some reason the driver's like, "Give me a balloon." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Here." I give it to him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 16 years old.
No big
What am I
deal.
thinking?
Yeah.
He's about to get into the freeway. He hits it. Super. He starts laughing, ha ha ha. Hits
Yeah.
the wall on the
Oh
freeway.
shit.
And then he comes back to life. Like he comes back to it, and then he gets control of the car. But now we're kind of like, like struggling to drive. We get off on
Yes.
Avenue 57.
Uh,
We park. So a car's pulling up behind us, and we're like, okay, someone's gonna help us, or maybe it's a cop. I don't know.
yeah.
Some white boy comes in, super dressed up, nice.
Yeah.
Looked like a lawyer. He did look like he was sweet. He looked like he was on something.
Yeah.
He gets close, everything okay, blah blah, and then he goes, "Bam, here's give me all your money, blah blah,"
What
with the
the
gun.
hell?
And I'm in the back seat. I'm like, I just sold a $400 worth of freaking Nas. What do I do? Someone gets shot for $400. I'm
Yeah.
gonna feel guilty. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, here you go. Here's all the money.
Holy
Do you want the tank
shit.
too? So I don't want that shit. Fucking walked away and left. I'm
God
like,
damn.
never again.
That's crazy. How long you were 16?
16,
So this
17.
was like
I graduated
12 years
2010,
ago,
so it
10
was
years
before
ago?
that. No, it was 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it
I
was a
can't
long
do
time
math.
ago.
Damn, that's crazy. So, where are you from? Actually, let's go
um,
into that.
I was born in Honduras. I came when I was 10,
Yeah.
2003. Um, yeah, I was born out there and raised. I went to all the way to sixth grade over there. Uh,
Okay. So you were probably like 11,
no, I was 9, turning 10. I was
10.
ahead. I was ahead for 2 years for some reason.
Oh, you're
Over
smart.
there, I think my grandma was like the 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 school supervisor, so
Oh,
she
okay. She's like,
I got
you're
the
gonna
hook
get
everywhere
ahead.
from second to fourth. So by ninth, by the age of 9, I was already done with sixth grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I came here, they made me repeat sixth grade.
So, okay, so you were born there, and then what was like your process of coming here? Do you remember a
I
lot?
do remember actually. There was two attempts. One was successful, and the first one wasn't. My mom came when I was 5. She left me over there. Um, then my sister came after me, and I was the last one to come. But
Mm-hmm.
before that, my sister, myself, my aunt, my cousins, and my grandma,
Mm-hmm.
we decided to try to come illegally
Right.
the the way that everyone else does,
Through
through the
Mexico.
river. Um, so we started off by leaving. Well, I'm from the capital, Tegucigalpa, so we left. We drove up north.
Mm.
We crossed the Guatemalan border.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at midnight we had to cross a river. Imagine like like a 7-year-old,
Yeah.
and then my cousin was a baby, and my sister was younger than me,
Yeah.
with two ladies, a grandma, and then my aunt.
Did you have to carry anything
I
or?
don't remember that
Okay.
actually, but we were being guided by the coyotes
Yeah.
back in the day. Um, and then we ended up at a farm, and they served us like black beans, plátanos, and like breakfast. We
Mm-hmm.
got there like at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then we had to wait the whole day again to then at night uh, keep going with the route. They put us under a bus, like where the luggage goes,
Right.
and we had to stay there for like 10 hours until we hit Mexico City.
Yeah.
Then we stayed there. We went to a hotel, and I guess my aunt and my grandma decided like it was too much for them,
Mm-hmm.
so they called my mom, and they're like, "No, we're not gonna do it." So we headed back to Honduras, and that was the first attempt.
Mm-hmm.
The second time,
Well, why did they decide that they weren't gonna do it? They just
it was kind of scary.
yeah,
It was pretty
it's too
scary.
scary.
I mean, as a child, it seemed like an adventure, but I'm sure it was pretty scary.
Do you remember what you felt like? Like,
I just
were
I,
you actually scared?
I'm sure I was. I
Yeah.
can't. Like I feel like as we get older, those memories we kind of like play them off as if they didn't
Yeah,
impact me.
like
But
as if it was
yeah, it
normal.
was normal.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it impacted me a lot. But I
Yeah.
don't see it that way. I just have like glimpses of like what happened.
Yeah.
Like like a photo of
Yeah.
the area, the river,
Yeah.
and it's dark, so it's kind of like it's easy to just remember it being dark.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, the second time, before I came to the United States, my sister did it first.
Yeah.
Um, Somehow, we got in touch with someone that was able to get a visa, right?
Mm.
It's like another kid's visa
Uh-huh.
that looks like my sister,
Okay.
and then someone goes with her as an adult, like bringing her to the United States.
Right.
I don't even know how they did that process, but it's my sister came with someone else's visa,
Yeah.
and she went through and everything. So 2 years after that, my godmother did it for me with someone else's visa, and
Uh-huh.
we were able to go through, and that's how I got here.
Okay, so
So
that process was easier.
it was easier.
Yeah.
But it's very risky.
Yeah.
I remember when my sister did it. They found other kids in the airplane that were bringing drugs.
Oh
So they
shit.
had to go through
Like a more thorough process with her?
yeah, they had to ask her questions. Where are
Yeah.
you going? How old? She was only 6 years old.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, for me at least, we didn't have to go through all that. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay, and your sister was here before you. So how
Yeah.
many years was here?
I think
she
2 years before.
Oh, okay.
2-3 years before me.
And then okay, so your process It sounds pretty crazy. I've never actually heard like a person like my age. I've never heard like their story of like how that experience went. Um, but do you remember like what it was like living in Honduras?
Yeah, yeah, I do. And I'm sure I didn't have the same life as most people.
Yeah,
My uncle wasn't a doctor, so I feel like I had it a little bit better off than most people. But
yeah,
I do remember my aunt being super strict, so I didn't really get to experience the culture or the like just being a child there. Like I
yeah,
was able to go out and hang out with the kids and from the town or anything.
yeah.
So, but I do remember being out there. We would travel from the capital to my grandma's place, which is 2 hours south,
Mm-hmm.
and back and forth. I went to school, um, elementary down there, and then I went to, um, but it was kindergarten in my grandma's area, and then elementary at my aunt's. And I went. So my uncle was a professor at the university after
Mm-hmm.
he retired.
Mm.
Um, so he got me into the elementary school that was at the university. So I was able to get good education through there. I went all the way to sixth grade, and so I feel like my experience is not like that that cool. I would say, I didn't have that much freedom to be out
You,
there.
it sounds like you had like a pretty good life though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I
And
had
you're,
everything I needed,
yeah, you're
except
pretty,
I didn't have my mom.
yeah.
So it's like you have one or the other.
You have your mom or you don't. No, I was actually gonna share because like I think that might be a common thing, especially for like Latino people or just people that are like coming to the US. Um, my mom also didn't live with her mom for a couple of years, because my grandma was over here and my mom was still in Mexico. And so I think I want to say she came to the US as a kid and then for some reason she went back to Mexico and my grandma was still here and my mom had to like come back when she was like 10. So there was a couple years that she wasn't living with my grandma either.
Same age as me. I
Yeah,
came
about the same
10.
age. I'm actually considering interviewing my mom because she has a good story
Yeah, you
too.
should.
I'm
If she
actually
wants to.
considering like interviewing a lot of people in my family because
Just everyone in Highland Park.
yeah, pretty much. Okay, so what's your experience? And we won't go too far into this, but like, what's your experience living in Highland Park, or since you've been here a long
Yeah,
time?
yeah. So, I grew up. Well, actually, I grew up in Honduras, but when I came, I actually came straight to San Fernando, the
Oh yeah,
Valley. So I went
okay,
to school there 2 years, and then I moved to Highland Park. Way different, even though
yeah,
it's like 45 minutes.
they're really
Way
different.
different. I remember I had to repeat sixth grade, so they put me in ESL,
Oh,
English as a second language,
mm,
and uh, my whole class was in Spanish the whole day. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, this is cool. I mean,
you're all
I know this.
uncomfortable.
I got A's every because I
Yeah,
had already gone through sixth grade over there, so
yeah,
A+. I mean, if it would have been if there was a higher grade, I probably would have gotten that. But seventh grade, that was a little tougher. And then when I came to Highland Park, though, ESL wasn't the same. It was one class of ESL and then 5 classes in English. So I
English.
was like, okay, I didn't get enough practice for this. So I had to
Yeah,
jump into it and just learn. I had to learn within 2 years,
yeah. I
two
was
years
gonna
and a half.
ask you about like what was your process like learning English because that must have been kind of hard.
Yeah, so when I came from Honduras, I had like I feel like I had like some type of army training because I told you my aunt was super tough. She was very strict.
Right.
I had to wake up at 5 in the morning,
Yeah.
go to school, come back, like eat lunch because over there school is up to 12 only.
Yeah.
And then eat lunch, study, dinner, study, 30 minutes of video games, go to sleep at 8, wake up again
Okay.
every day for
Yeah.
like 5 years,
It's a
right?
pretty good
So
routine.
so when I came, I was the same. So I was my brain was ready to learn. So
Yeah.
within 2 years, I was able to catch up pretty, or just like learn the language pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, I still need to practice. I still had an accent, but I think what pushed me to it is going to Burbank Middle School because right there I didn't have the Spanish classes anymore,
Really?
and going from speaking to my friends in Spanish to not having any Spanish friends in Highland Park.
Yeah.
They knew Spanish, but no one really spoke the language
Okay.
as often. Or you had to have those friends that only spoke Spanish.
Yeah. What
So
was that process like too? Like making friends that spoke in English. Did you have like when you were kind of already learning English, did you have friends that like were speaking English and Spanish? Like did they any of your friends help you with that transition?
no, because the friends that I made in San Fernando, they stayed over there, and they all spoke Spanish only outside of school. When I came to Highland Park, I met a few, but I don't think I made that many friends in middle school until high school.
Oh, really?
So I
Okay.
went to seventh grade. I was new, so I had to adapt to a new school as well,
Right.
new area. I had not only had I just came from a different country, but I had to move different city within a
Yeah.
year.
And then
So
speak a whole different
yeah.
language. Yeah.
So then I don't I can't recall any friends actually from Burbank Middle School. I just acquaintances that I had there.
Yeah.
I still hadn't,
In Franklin?
yeah, I think it was not until ninth or 10th grade that I made some friends.
Okay.
So the transition wasn't as easy, I guess, to get involved with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, like, I went to elementary in Highland Park. I went to San Pasqual.
Hmm.
And then my parents didn't want me to go to Burbank. And then I don't know, I guess I wanted to go to private school too, because my brother went to private school. He went to St. Ignatius.
Hmm.
And so I ended up going to OLG in El Serena. So I was like a brand new kid there.
Hmm.
And that's a private school where it's like kinder through eighth.
Hmm.
So I went in as a sixth grader, not knowing anybody. And then I was like really shy and, quiet. So I didn't have that many friends in middle school either. Um, but yeah, so, and then once I graduated eighth grade in El Sereno, I went to Alhambra. So it was like I had to make a whole new set of friends like every time I went to a different school. Because it wasn't just in the neighborhood. I was going to completely different neighborhoods from where I'm from.
Yeah.
So it was always I was always having to make new friends, which I suck at.
I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Either you have it or you don't, right?
Yeah, that's probably I don't know. I'm like socially awkward, but okay, so what was Franklin like?
Franklin was.
Yeah, because my parents didn't want me to go to Franklin.
Yeah. They didn't let my cousin go to Franklin either.
My
But
parents
my
didn't.
mom
I
let
just
me.
remember a long time ago, my mom said, "Well, like we don't want you to go to Franklin. Like you're gonna get pregnant and this and that." And I'm like, "What the fuck? I haven't even had sex."
My sister only lasted 2 years at Franklin. She had to go to a charter school after that.
Yeah. So
um,
I mean, yeah, they didn't want me to go to Franklin, and my brother he didn't go to Franklin either. He actually went to Eagle Rock, because he was smart.
yeah.
So
I mean, I wasn't associated with any gang, so I didn't really get in trouble that way.
yeah,
But
because
I also
it had a bad
reputation.
reputation.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Highland Park as a whole had a bad reputation,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it still has its reputation there, but not necessarily
As bad.
as bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I've heard Franklin's actually a lot better of a
yeah, I
school
hear
now.
academics is good.
Yeah.
Sports is good now. So,
Yeah. Crazy how much that
but at that
changed.
time, no. I remember. I think 10th grade is when Obama went into office, and they started talking about DACA,
Yeah.
and until then, I still hadn't thought about college.
Yeah.
So I don't think I put any effort into school at the time because I was like, okay, well, I don't think I could go to college anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well, so I guess let's go a little back. So you you were in high school. Were you aware of like the citizenship status during that time? Like, did
I
you
was
even
aware
like
that I
have
was
a mind for it? Or were you like worried about anything? Like, did your mom
um
like tell you not to say certain things or
actually no, I was never advised in any way by my family to do or do not do something.
right?
I also didn't worry about anything like, oh, I'm gonna get deported or anything. I
Yeah.
felt safe, but I
Yeah.
don't. I did know that I was undocumented. I did know that I wasn't able to do certain things that others were, like apply for college or.
Did you know like at a young age about all that stuff?
It wasn't a topic that was always constantly, brought up.
Right.
So it's not something that I focused on a lot.
Right.
Created that like, oh, you can't do this, you
Like
can't do that
fear.
because that no.
Yeah.
But I did know I was limited. I did know that for sure. So, um, I think that was the main reason why I didn't really like focus on being a great student,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't see the point. Like, okay, so if I'm gonna work my butt off, and then at the end of 12th grade I can't even pursue college, so what's the whole point?
Right.
And then 2 years later, Obama comes and gives DACA, so I'm like, oh, I should have, I should have worked harder. But then at that point, I just like I was stuck partying and doing certain stuff that weren't the best.
Yeah.
So I just kept focusing on that. And then in 12th grade, I was like, if I keep going this route, I might not graduate. So I got to get back on track.
Yeah.
So I did. Then once I graduated, I did try some community colleges here and there, but I don't think it was too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to give in myself a chance to
Like
create some
prepare.
horrible
Yeah.
habits
Yeah.
in high school. So they carried on into to afterwards. But yeah,
Do you have any regrets on any of that?
no,
No,
I
right?
don't actually. No.
Yeah. I
No.
mean, well, because I can say like even like me when I was in high school, I mean, I guess I do like wish I was like I applied myself more and stopped like being all worried about making friends and like having a boyfriend or boys liking me and things like that. Um, I guess I do wish I would have just like focused a little more on school, but I don't know. I think I have a good experience of just like life and
Yeah.
I think it all of that shit that I struggled with
No.
in like high school was kind of like preparing me for
Yeah.
becoming an adult or like learning how to be more responsible.
For the most part, most people that just went that route and decided, hey, I'm gonna do good in school and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to college afterwards, they were rushed into it and they decided to pursue a career that they didn't even
Really,
like.
yeah. That
They didn't
happens
even,
to a lot of
they didn't
people.
even
They didn't
use
even
it.
have fun.
Yeah.
I had a lot of
So
fun
I
when I was
mean,
like,
it would have been cool to just present a degree for my mom, my family, but
yeah.
I mean, they still hope for one. But
You
I'm
there's
like,
still time.
uh, it depends. We'll see. I don't
Um,
think I want to spend that much time on that.
yeah.
I think it could be better spent.
Yeah, school's not for everybody.
Mm-mm. But
So,
learning is.
yes. And there's always YouTube. You can learn from YouTube and just books and things like that. Um, okay, so what was the process like applying for DACA? Like, do you remember what that was like?
Yeah, I still have to do it.
Yeah, so
So
initially, what was the process like? And then after, like, explain just your continuation of
yeah, so at first
applying.
I think I was still underage, so I had to get help from my mom a lot to do
Yeah,
those processes. I think we paid the first time to some for someone to do it for us, and then 3 years after. So I remember you had to pay about 495 for the permit, the work permit, and then there's some fees for fingerprints. They have to check your background and all that stuff.
yeah,
But what background, right? You don't have one.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's all about money.
Yeah,
But
it's a scam.
so the first time, luckily, I got it for 3 years. From what I know, mostly all people got 2 years.
Hmm.
So after the third year, then I had to reapply again, and ever since then, it's been 2 years. So every 2 years, I think in like 3 months, I have to do it again.
Yeah, so
So
every 2 years you have to
for
apply.
95, yeah,
And then every time you apply, you have to pay an amount.
yeah.
What's the
It's like
price
495 plus the fingerprints. I think it's like 500 to
total?
600.
Total.
From what I remember, I can't be. Don't quote me on that. Don't
Is
quote
does
me on
it
that.
does the price ever go up
It
or
hasn't gone up from what I
okay.
remember now.
Okay. That's a lot of money
One
still.
time, I think the second time I applied, I got a grant. Someone, not someone, a company or like I don't know, like
Like an
this.
organization?
Yeah, an
Yeah.
organization from San Francisco. I applied for it and they paid
Oh,
for it, so it was
sweet.
cool. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure they're still out there. So if people still have to do it, they don't have the funds. They should look into that.
Into like grants and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so like going back to that question, what was it like growing up in Highland Park? Um, what was your experience like, or what do you remember? And like obviously fast forwarding to like now and what it's like.
Yeah, so I got I got carried on with high school, but yeah, growing up in Highland Park was pretty scary at times because I grew up in Avenue 57 and it's known for the gangs,
Yeah.
the avenues, and I
Wait,
used
you weren't always on 55?
no,
Okay.
I when I moved from the valley to Highland Park, I lived like 3 years on Avenue 57,
Okay.
and that was like around the recession time. Actually, I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
my mom had to move because of the recession. She had to look for another apartment that was less than
Mm.
that one, and yeah, I lived on Avenue 57 and Omaha, so that's like
Yeah, I know where that
that's
is.
exactly where the gang activity
Yeah.
was happening at that time, and I witnessed a few shootings. I saw people getting getting shot.
Yeah.
I would my cousin was visiting us one time, and he stepped out when the shooting started, and he was like getting something from the car. My uncle had to jump out and get him
Oh
so he wouldn't get
shit.
in, in the crossfire,
Yeah.
and it was tough, but little by little, Highland Park started changing. People started getting locked up.
Yeah.
They
Did you
started,
know anybody from the avenues? You did?
yeah.
You
I
can't
mean,
you can't say anything.
well, I mean, I wasn't close to them, but I
Yeah.
did. I mean, everyone. I mean, mostly everyone that grew up in Highland Park, not all,
Yeah.
kind of
Knew
knew of
or had like a
someone,
family
or
member. Yeah.
or one of their friends has to know someone.
Yeah.
It's and if it's not one of the main gangs, it's starting
Yeah.
gangs. Like you have to be part of that gang, and then it leads you to the main
Right.
one. That's what I
Yeah.
remember because being in high school. I remember there was a few like DVC, FTC. So I remember one of them was for,
FTC is still going on. I
is
still,
it?
yeah, I still see them.
But yeah, I knew one of those gangs was one leading to Avenues and one leading to the Highland Parks.
Okay.
So yeah, it was interesting, going and then when I moved to Avenue 55, things changed. Even though it was 2 blocks away,
Yeah. It's a
I
little
didn't.
more calmer, but you still hear the
Yeah,
gunshots.
I mean, one of the neighbors got shot one time in front of me. We
Yeah.
were walking in, and then he was started running, and then he shot him right
Shit.
outside. So yeah, I've seen a few, but
Yeah.
it hasn't happened in a while. You still hear from it, but the news get covered pretty well now. they don't,
Yeah, that's true.
they don't make it.
I know, that's true. That is true. Highland Park never used to be in the news at all, or
Yeah.
like,
Well, now it's good news.
yeah.
Before it was
Now
bad
it's
news.
safe news.
Saves news. Okay, who's paying for this article not to come out?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so yeah, it was scary. Well, from my experience, like I wasn't I didn't go I think my parents like prevented me from going to schools in Highland Park,
Mm,
at least in middle and in high school, also because of the gangs and the reputation for Highland Park. But I knew that when I was getting older, I knew I had to be more cautious. I knew my parents didn't want me walking around Highland Park, and sometimes I would still, but I knew I had to be like always like looking around and yeah, the avenue there was like I think home base was on like it's 57. Yeah, you're right actually. Um
it's 57. There was
yeah,
Banner. There was Omaha.
yeah.
Glen Ellen or Glen. No, that's the other one.
Glen Ellen's by
Yeah,
55.
the other one over there.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, like going down, right? There was like
Right there by the freeway
yeah.
too.
Um
We're kind of like giving too much
I
info.
know it's true. I'm gonna have to cut some of this out.
He's like, wait, what? That's where they're at?
Too
No.
specific. Yeah, so I knew I had to like I knew where I was. I think living on the avenues in Highland Park is a different experience than living on like a different street in Highland Park, you
Yeah.
know? Because there's territory. So
Yeah.
we were like kind of in the middle of that. I remember one time I was in the car with my friends just outside of my house, and some fucking guy comes up and he's like talking to me, and like my friends are in the car, and he's just like, "Where you from?"
You look so gangster.
And I was like, "What the fuck?" God damn it! I was fucking scared because I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, no,
I used to for some reason my dumbass goes and gets an A hat, the
yeah,
Atlanta
yeah,
Braves,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm walking around by the Highland Park
yeah.
with that hat. Not only did I get
Hit
hit
up.
up, they asked me where you from, why you wearing that hat, better take it off,
Oh
blah
shit!
blah.
Yeah,
Another time, the cops stopped me from avenues.
God
So I don't know why I
damn.
did that, but
Yeah.
I learned not to buy one again.
Being a boy or a guy in, a neighborhood that is considered not safe. I think it's a scarier experience,
Yeah,
no? Being
definitely.
a guy, like
Yeah.
growing up,
And then sometimes like you're not part of it, but you get
like
like
profiled.
not profiled, but like you get brought into it in
Yeah.
some instances. Like I lived there. There was times in which I had to go body shots with someone just because.
Yeah.
I'm walking around and you're a guy, you're there. Let's go, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
And then there was times in which they would just. I was riding my skateboard one time. Someone just came and tried to sock me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, I gotta go for it, let's get
Yeah.
down." So that's part of being a boy in an area like that. Like
Yeah.
you're not even trying to be a part of it, but
Yeah.
you're a guy and you're gonna, be hit up or something like that.
Not only that, but like even our neighbors were like, I don't know if you knew that, but they were
Oh
like
yeah,
kind of, well, they were gang affiliated.
yeah, that's true. That's the
So
one. That's one of them that got
we
shot.
won't say any names, but
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he did get shot.
Yeah,
Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything. That's it.
I
um,
think we know a little bit too much.
yeah.
But
Um,
going back to growing up in Highland Park and how
yeah.
it changed, right? It did change a lot, and a lot of people. Well, I don't know. It's a conflicting opinion.
Yeah, okay. So let me just go into explaining like why I want to ask you this. Um, because I think you and I have a little bit different opinions, and I think it's like good to share your opinion.
Yeah,
Especially because like the type of work you do, and you don't have to say what you do, but I think like it's important to hear other people's perspectives and experiences. Like
I
you're
sell drugs, right? That's why you don't want me to say it.
because like I mean I know you don't consider yourself from Highland Park, but you were initially there before
All
all
the
of the
change.
changes happened.
I
So
actually do consider myself from
yeah,
Highland
it
Park.
is. It
Yeah,
is like your hometown.
yeah,
Um, and so I think I want to hear like your genuine experience, and what your opinions on the
yeah.
gentrification, whether it's good
Gentrification.
or bad or whatever you
Yeah.
think, even if our opinions differ.
So I remember before it got gentrified, driving down Figueroa was just like lonely,
Yeah, right?
and it was like it looked sad
Yeah,
and it looked scary still because you knew like what was going on
yeah,
behind the scenes
with the gangs.
with the gangs,
Yeah,
and like you knew that they were looking for each other. People that were from Highland Park knew that.
yeah,
So no one was walking those streets.
yeah,
No one was going to the businesses for the same reason.
right.
I remember there was that swap mall.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
went in there, you felt a little sketchy, like, hey, something might go down. You never know.
For me, I actually never felt
I
that
felt
going to
like that
Swap
because
Mall.
I also like knew that Fig
Yeah,
Avenue 57,
yeah,
drive-bys. I would see them down there, this and that. So the moment that businesses started coming, I enjoyed it because of that. Like it
yeah,
changed. Now it looked lively. I
yeah,
know like a lot of businesses had to go down for it, but
yeah.
like I enjoyed the change,
Hmm.
and a lot of people were hurt. A
Right.
lot of businesses were hurt,
Yeah.
um, but a lot of the locals also gained a lot.
Hmm.
Homeowners gained a lot. Businesses that were like prepared for the change
Hmm.
gained a lot. So for me, I see it as a good change, except for the fact that people had to get hurt.
Right.
And I think, in my opinion, instead of like focusing on like pointing fingers at quote unquote gentrifiers,
Right.
it's like how can we empower the people that are already there to be
Yes.
able to compete? To be able to stand up and be able to do something for themselves,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm in the same boat. I'm a minority. If I had a business, I probably would have been like put it out, So
Right.
I would have been in the same position,
Right.
So I feel like we just have to focus on getting better,
Yeah.
as a culture, as a people, as a minority,
Yeah.
and just be able to do the same thing. Because even though there's a lot of like, I don't know how, like there's a lot of big businesses that have come to Highland Park, but a lot of them are still small businesses,
Right.
even though they're gentrifying the place, right?
Right.
But we don't know if they're having the best business
True.
or they're struggling.
Right.
Because even though they look like, oh, this coffee shop is super nice, super expensive. Why is it expensive? Because they have to pay the high rent. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So they might be hurting too.
Right.
Because the mom and pop shop that was paying $1,000 before, now this person is paying 5,000. So
Right.
they have to sell overpriced coffee just to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not in a better situation than they were.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
they're still struggling too. So it's a very sensitive subject.
It
But
is. And I don't know why I like to talk about it.
yeah, I mean, it's like
I
politics.
feel like sometimes it's annoying how much I talk about it,
Yeah.
but it is part of my experience of growing up and just like observing everything. And I think you have a lot of good valid points too, because as a person who grew up in Highland Park, like it wasn't a safe area, at least on my street, And like, yes, versus 57, like it was a lot better. But I wouldn't know. But my cousin lived on 57, so
Yeah.
it does. But I just know that it wasn't as safe of a place. And when I did start seeing like a place like Antigua, I liked it. And it's not a gentrifying business. I'm just being clear about that. I'm just saying like that was one of the first spots that was like, oh, nice clean storefront is here. Like that's really cool. And then like little by little, just like other little shops came in, and I think it just like kind of got like overwhelmingly obnoxious with like all the yoga studios and like all the excess bars that are there.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think like just looking back, it's frustrating because there are a lot of people that are, really upset about the gentrification still, and it is an issue. But I think there's some accountability that like has to be taken. And obviously there was a lot of like it was gang territory, so yeah, you're right, it was a fucking ghost town, and there wasn't that much traffic, and a lot of people were scared to maybe go out to businesses or be in the community. But I think there is also a part of just like people needing to be involved in the community. Me and my boyfriend talk about how Boyle Heights is still fighting gentrification, and they've been a little bit good at like combating it and like staying in the community or within the community. And Highland Park wasn't really a strong community. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Yeah, it just went right past it.
Yeah, and so gentrification was easy to it was a place to target. It's the center of LA, basically. You can get anywhere in like 20 minutes from Highland Park.
It was like nationwide news.
Highland
Park is hot.
It's a hot spot.
Hot. Come here.
Yeah.
Get your peas.
And then like, the Gold Line was right there, so you can just like go anywhere in LA from Highland Park.
Yeah.
But like we just didn't have a strong sense of community.
Definitely.
And I think that's something that needs to be like acknowledged. And like going back to what you're saying is like at this point there's no going back. So there's only like supporting from now, like from here on out, like supporting actual like local Highland Park people, when they're starting these businesses in Highland Park. Supporting people that like started from, the bottom, and like here they are like making it in Highland Park. I think that's important to acknowledge. And I'm trying to be fair in how I see these things, because at some point in my life, I was like on one end of the spectrum and like, absolutely no, like gentrifier, like you're wrong. And now I'm like starting to like balance a little bit to try to see a fair like mindset. Especially because I want to be like an entrepreneur or a business owner. And I do want to be in Highland Park and like, have a sense of community there. So I think it is important what you're saying.
So like you mentioned Antigua, there were like pretty much the pioneers when it comes to coffee shops, because there's like
there was no coffee shops.
But they're proud, and they were probably like the first one, the popular one in Highland Park, and they're strong, and this just helped them get even better and bigger. And like without what happened, they wouldn't have been able to be that big,
to be a successful business.
And then when it comes back to supporting the locals, Yeah, you don't find me going to Civil Coffee.
Right.
Like they sell what, $12 avocado toast. Like I don't want avocado toast. I want a meal.
Yeah.
And there's a few places that like religiously just go to those.
Yeah.
Gloria's, a Highland Cafe. He went to Franklin.
Yeah.
There's Azteca, Jugos Azteca,
Yeah.
Huarache. I
Yeah.
mean, they're still there. They're surviving, and they're
They're
thriving
thriving. And
because of it,
Fulerios.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what, the Italianos by Burbank, they're still there.
Yeah. They are
So
there.
it helped a lot of locals.
True.
Without that, they probably wouldn't have been able to.
And I
They
think that's
also own
important to
properties here.
acknowledge. Yeah.
They gained half of. They probably their property value was probably like half a million. Now their property value is like $1 million.
Right.
So going back to empowering our people is like, the reason why they were able to survive is because they were positioned and ready for that change.
Right.
A lot of the businesses that didn't make it, even though it's sad, they were just not ready.
Right.
And so when it comes to being ready, is starting from now and on, right?
Right.
From here and the future. So what are we gonna do?
Right.
Like our parents, like my mom, if she had a business, she probably will go out of business. She doesn't. She knows English, but she's shy.
Yeah.
A lot of Latinos, right? They know the freaking
Yeah.
language. They just don't want to speak it.
Yeah.
Right. So that creates a barrier.
Right.
Creates a limit.
Right.
So if they hurt back then, that's the past.
Right.
But it shouldn't happen to us again.
Yeah.
That's something what we should learn.
Yes.
From the gentrification, that's a lesson taught for us.
Right.
And we should go on from here on and do the same thing they do. That's it. That's
we
how
got
I
to
see
be
it.
competitive in our own way.
Yeah.
And like, the thing about Antigua is like they were perfect for Highland Park, because they came into Highland Park into a Latino community, and they're Latinos, and so they kind of catered to that food, and came out with like these good fucking menu items, and like they were able to be successful because of that.
Which were they from? Their menu was from their country mainly.
Yeah.
So it's.
But when you come into Highland Park and you're not a part of the community and you're not catering to the community, like good luck. There are a lot of businesses that came to Highland Park and they failed.
Yeah.
Because they're not finding that sense of community or not trying to be involved in the community. Mm-hmm. And so you're not going to be a successful business. And there's so many businesses that I've seen like come and go.
Yeah. And it just goes back to being preparing yourself to be a great entrepreneur, business person. That's first. And then how do you do it? To help people, right? To help the community.
Yeah.
If you're coming in for self-interest, you're not going to make it.
Right.
Because it just takes you so far. And there's always a limit to that too, because in any business, if you're here to help, you're going to make more money.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? So that's true. Like a lot of businesses came even after the gentrification and they didn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even with their fancy storefronts and everything, like
higher rent.
Yeah. even if you're doing all that and you're being really extra, like you still can fail.
Yeah.
In Highland Park, which is a hot spot where everybody is at.
Yeah.
Like
so I actually, I don't know. I'm in real estate, so I try to help people buy and sell property here in Highland Park or anywhere. Yeah. So I've helped a lot of Latinos buy their first home, and it's a freaking great feeling, because everyone should be able to afford one. And it's tough because it's very unaffordable, but in reality, I believe that it's not that it's unaffordable. It starts with your mentality and your mindset. It first has to change, and then you start seeing the way, the light on how to do it. But if you already believe that you can do it, you won't ever. Yeah. Even if the properties, like for example, there's a lot of us millennials that are waiting for a crash because the properties are gonna go half off, right? I bet you. I don't know. Most people, most of us, myself included, let's say a recession happened within 2-3 months from now. Mm-hmm. We're still not ready.
That's true.
So where does that like unaffordability play off? It's not necessarily that, but we first, as a whole, we have to start changing our mentality.
Yeah, and habits.
Oh, I was gonna get into that.
Sorry.
So, I feel like I just turned 30.
Congrats!
This year,
you made it.
And then it was like I was like, yo, I'm 30 years old. I think it was a week before I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this TikTok that said if you haven't read these books before 30, like what have you been doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't read these books. So I went on Amazon. I bought two and then I sent a list to everyone on my family. I was like, buy me this book, buy me this book. So I got a bunch of books.
Uh-huh.
And ever since I turned 30, my goal is to read 3 to 4 books every month. No, every week.
Okay.
So ever since March 10, I've read 12 books.
Oh, wow.
And the moment that I read those books, I started looking back to my life and I was like, what was I doing in my 20s? Like, even when I got into real estate 6 years ago,
Yeah.
it was like it was a change for me because all I was used to was having a regular job, 9 to 5,
Right.
you know. Um, but I was like, yo, I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, me too.
So,
I
but
still
it's never
sometimes
too
feel
late. It's never too late.
yeah,
And it was a
exactly.
wake up call for me. I for sure.
I still sometimes feel guilty for wasting time. I mean, I had a lot of fun in my 20s. Like I was being crazy, but um yeah, sometimes I still even now, I'm going to be 31 in November,
Yeah.
and I sometimes feel still guilty that I'm wasting time, but I'm on my path. I'm doing shit without saying anything. Like
Yeah.
I'm working at things. I'm just like trying to follow through into the things that I say I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and like I haven't
But I need
had
to read more. So
dude,
send me those
hey,
books.
like I believe everyone should read more. I looked
Yeah.
into the average a
Nobody's reading.
person that reads an American actually.
Yeah.
A person in America reads 3 books on average. And I went back and I was like, I haven't even read one this year. So I was like, I'm below average. So I'm like, what is an avid reader? What is a like someone that reads a lot read per year? The average is 12. That's still not a lot.
Yeah.
Like if I could read 4 books in a week, yeah, in a week. No, in a month. 4 weeks in a month. I mean, 4 books in a month. Then reading 3 in a year should be easy. But I remember like in high school we had like AR reading and we were
Hmm.
supposed to read for English class. I would never do it and I would always get a C for that reason.
Yeah.
Even after that, so I never built that habit, which I should have,
Right.
because it would have just created like free learning. Like
Better habits. Not only that, but reading also helps you, expand your vocabulary. So when you're communicating with people and expressing yourself, you sound like you know what you're talking about. You avoid words and
I still have those.
I no, I do too. I'm always I when I'm editing or listening to these podcasts, I'm always just like, fuck, it's fine. I this is who I am.
I,
And
I
that is part of the joke or like the funniness to like my title of the podcast. I'm being seriously because I don't speak or communicate as well as I want to, but it's also funny sometimes because it's also just who I am. It's part
yeah,
of maybe it's even
yeah.
where I'm from too.
We're able to associate with more people that way. Actually,
That's true. That
'cause-
that that's true.
good job.
So you're right. Go on.
Because if I were to be using some crazy like words that no one really understands, it's like, okay, this guy's boring. Shut
People
up.
can't relate.
Yeah, they can't
Yeah.
relate.
And I think being in real estate, it's nice to have like a diverse range of like who feels comfortable around you and who trusts you.
Hmm.
That's what like communicating when you communicate with people and you know how to communicate well, people trust you
Hmm.
for some
Yeah,
reason,
definitely.
even if you're not even trustworthy, as
You
long
know,
as you can communicate
you know
well.
the main thing that I noticed after I started like the habit of reading is the amount of focus that I'm able to have now on doing any other type of task. Not only reading, but like just focusing on um on doing anything. Like if I go to the office, I would. Okay, so going back to wasting my time, right? I started real
Yes.
estate 6 years ago.
Tell me how you wasted your time.
I the first 2 years were tough because any business the first 2 years is always hard. I
Yeah.
probably didn't sell a house until like 6 months of having my license, and I still made the same amount I was doing at my job previously, but 3 years after that, I was able to triple my earnings,
Hmm.
but I was only working 2 hours a day. So
Oh
what was I
shit.
doing the rest of the time? So imagine if I was able to triple my earnings by only working 2 hours, what else could have I done? Or
Yeah,
how much more could have I done?
true.
So, and that wasn't the only year. All the 6 years were like that.
Yeah,
So what was I doing? Right? Like,
yeah.
I know it's part of the journey, but I look back, I'm like, I would have been in a different position.
I mean, the thing is, like, at least you were aware of that, and then you're preventing yourself from doing that again, you know? I
Yeah.
think that's important, and that is unfortunately a learning experience of wasting time. Time
Well,
is money, and time
yeah.
is valuable. And okay, I hate when people say that word, and I don't know why I just said it, or that
What?
phrase, time is money, but it is kind of true,
It is.
you
It's the
know?
most valuable thing.
Or time is of value.
Like
I want to say
if
that.
you lose $100, you can get them back. You lose a minute, you ain't getting it back.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, so it is valuable.
So it is valuable. I'm going to change it to time is valuable, not time is money. But
Yeah.
um,
What was our topic?
it was no
Just
topic.
empowering people.
We were just kind of going off.
you know how we have this view of the wealthy being the bad person,
Right,
bad people. Like, and sometimes we don't want to pursue that because we don't want to be them.
right.
But I believe that if you have that goal, it is a good goal, and you don't have to be like them, and you could become wealthy and help the rest
True.
become that, or at least try to
Yeah,
get there. You know, because at the end of the day, we're in a capitalist society, no matter what. And like I see it as like a bullet train that it's either you get on it or you're left behind, and like it
true.
just keeps going around you, and you're just looking at it.
Yeah.
So it's either you hop on it or you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't see our society changing from capitalism anytime
Mm-mm.
soon. So I did have to accept that, like, it is an annoying way that we live our life, but you kind of just have to hop on and
Yeah,
figure it out and then do it in a better way than all these greedy
yeah,
people, you
because
know?
you can't expect someone else to do what you want to be done. You have to do it.
And on top of that, if you're constantly just like hating, I mean, I guess I am always talking shit about capitalism, but like if you're constantly in that mindset, it's depressing. You're always going to be depressed because or mad or angry and you're not going to be enjoying your life because you're focusing and wasting your energy on hating capitalism and the government
Yeah,
and all these certain people, that are terrible, but I I'm avoiding wasting too much time on that type of part of. I mean, at some point, I think it was a part of my life, a big part of my life.
yeah,
I hated everybody. I still do hate
yeah.
the
You've
government,
always been an entrepreneur, though. I noticed.
or trying to be at least.
No, well, I mean, same with me. I
Yeah,
always wanted to be in business. Did I know how to do it? No, but
yeah.
I always wanted
We've
to.
always
Yeah,
tried,
that's
and
how we met.
yeah, that is
You were
how
doing some what?
mom jeans.
No,
Rest in
you were
peace.
having
It's
yeah,
like
mom jeans. But
yeah,
what was it like?
it was
You
like
like
a yard sale mom jeans
yeah. So I
type
was
of
like, can I
thing.
sell my shirts there?
Yeah, that is how we
And I
met.
sold some.
And I sold shit too, but
That business is also RIP, but I'm not giving up on it.
yeah, exactly.
I'm
I'm
not
not
that
giving
good.
up on mom jeans, and
Uh-uh.
a lot of people have taken that name, but I'm not giving up. I'm coming back to it. It's not dead.
Yeah.
So, um, I was gonna ask you also because I mean this is just a random question. It actually doesn't relate, but you're Latino, but you're not Mexican. What is that experience like in LA?
I'm just Mexican to
You're just
everyone.
Mexican,
Yeah, I'm just
right?
Mexican. So even my girlfriend, she's Filipino, and hey,
Does
so
everyone think she's Mexican?
no, but they think I'm Mexican, even though I've explained to them many times that I'm not Mexican.
Yeah,
It's like,
you're
oh,
part of
so
us.
how do you make the salsa for the tacos? I'm like we don't have tacos in my country. But yeah, or like there's a few things that they say. I'm
Does
like,
it
I'm not
ever
Mexican.
does it ever get frustrating?
No, I mean, it's just so normal now.
Yeah, you've
So
embraced
like,
it.
yeah,
You're
I mean,
Mexican.
it used to be hard on me before because when I came from Honduras and I went to the valley, it was all Mexicans and I was the only Honduran, right?
Hmm.
So when it comes to soccer, the rivalry is crazy. It's insane,
Yeah,
and those two teams when they play is like it's horrible because the Mexicans, since they're it's a bigger group,
yeah,
if they start talking shit to me, how do I defend myself? So I felt cornered.
That's true.
So I started like hating Mexicans for a while until like after high
until like a year
schoolish.
ago.
Yeah, but I got used to it. A lot of my friends are Mexicans, and
Yeah.
they're cool.
Okay, so let's just talk about this podcast. Were you nervous going into this podcast?
Yes.
Was it as bad as you thought?
No, but still.
Would you
it's
come back?
Yes, but it was more of the idea of like being stuck and not knowing what to say or be able
Yeah.
to express myself the way I wanted to.
Okay.
So it's just always the thought of instead
Yeah.
of actually doing it.
What was your fear in doing this podcast?
Getting stuck,
And
like
then
saying like right now. Like having the thought in my head and not being able to just
express it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my main fear.
For me,
or like you asking me something very political and I have to say it and like it's just like the opposite from everyone else's opinion and then I get canceled.
No.
Yeah, that's one of the fears too. But
so it's also a skill that I'm trying to develop is like interviewing people. And just because I'm political, that's why I didn't want you to fear anything, because like I'm not trying to navigate this narrative that you're a bad person. You're not. You wouldn't even be on this podcast if you were.
That's true.
So like I try to avoid like painting this picture.
Yeah.
I just want you to be like yourself and be like a fair person, because that's who you are, and like you have your own experience. And I also am trying to avoid people just like sharing what they think I want to hear, and so that's why I wanted to make sure like you weren't just saying what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you did force me.
I'm kidding. I know. I paid you like $50 to do this,
right.
but
and a coffee.
Yeah. But so best advice that you go by.
Okay, so can I lead on?
Yeah.
Can I lead? Okay. So I remember I had a job. I used to work at a convalescent hospital back in like when I was 19, 18, right after high school actually. That was my third job after high school. So I was young, and I had only had one girlfriend at the time. So this guy, the cook there, he was very wise, older man. I mean, not that old. He was like 58.
You said he was Mexican, and he's the one that made you like Mexicans.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he did. He was really cool. Like I guess, I didn't meet my dad, so like there's always been like here and there that I see people that I could look up to and in that sense. So he was one of them that kind of like the way he spoke, the way he talked, the way he expressed himself was very wise. So I would listen to him. And we were talking about relationships at the time, and he said like, well, if you want to hear an advice, I would say like, if there's anything as small as you think it is, and you're never gonna be okay with it, you should move on, because if you're never gonna be okay with it, then there's no point. Like, you're definitely not gonna be okay with it in the future if you're not okay with it now.
Yeah.
And if there's issues, because there's always gonna be issues in a relationship, right? But if there's issues and you're willing to compromise and be able to like work through them, then take that risk.
Yeah.
But if you're never ever okay with that, then move on. So I took that advice and I applied it to every like other areas of my life, job, business, soccer, everything,
Yeah.
So if you're not okay with something, don't force yourself. If you're not okay with it now, you're never gonna be okay with it.
Yeah.
And if you let go of it, maybe in the future you could come back and revisit the idea.
Yeah.
But you let it go at this moment. So I always go by that advice. How about you?
I think that's good advice to go by, because it generalizes, not wasting time. Moving on too. I think that's important also for friendships. Did you ask me how about me? Like,
how
advice?
About you? Yeah. I just said it too soon right after.
Best advice that
it doesn't have to be the best. You just give me your best today.
Advice today.
Yeah.
Okay, I might be talking about this too often, but today my best advice is to save money. Always save money. I also think letting go of things and also trying your best not to care too much of what people think of you. And that includes family.
Yeah.
And I guess I have a lot of advice.
Yeah, just keep going. That's okay. We have another hour.
um, Also,
Plan.
planning is important. Plan where you're gonna go. I was reading an article about how there's kids, so they're doing a study on teenagers, and the teenagers that plan to go to college, um, we're all, I mean, I guess that's inevitable too. And I'm not going to waste too much time with that article, but planning is important, is what I
Yeah.
got from that
Yeah.
article.
So I've always considered myself as spontaneous type of person
Yeah.
that, like, I don't plan my day. I just go on. And that's
Yeah.
why
Which is fun. I like being spontaneous
and
too.
that's why I wasted so much time.
Right?
Two
You're just
hours
like,
of
I'm just
work.
going to go
And,
where life
since
is
like, oh,
taking
yeah, you
me.
want to go to lunch? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dinner? All right. Movies? All right.
Yeah.
Work? No. Okay. So, I read this book called Atomic Habits,
Hmm.
right? And the first thing that it said is planning.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And ever since that book, I changed a lot of habits. First started, I started planning my day the day before, which is
Yeah.
super simple. Everyone talks about it, but no one does it.
Let me ask you something. Have you always been good with time management?
Nope.
Are you
No.
getting better?
Yes. Super.
Okay.
Better.
And
I'm
that has a
proud.
lot of impact in planning, right?
Yes.
Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So planning. Yeah, I plan my day ahead now. The book mentions that if you write down what you're gonna do the next day, you're more likely to do it. And I
Yes.
think that article that you were gonna mention had probably mentioned that.
It was actually doing a study on kids planning to go to college and kids that weren't planning. And that's what I was saying. It's kind of a waste of time kind of talking about it because even the kids that had a plan
Mm-hmm.
were obviously going to be more successful
Yeah.
because they hadn't, even if they didn't do anything with their major or anything,
Mm-hmm.
they still had planned for things
Uh-huh.
and planned for themselves to get ahead versus the other kids who didn't have a plan. That's what I was going to say. I don't want to waste too much time
It's
because it
not a,
is a little bit common sense.
it's common sense, but we all need to hear that.
But also, it's important that even if college is not for you, as long as you're having a plan of what you're going to do outside of high school
Uh-huh.
when you become an adult, that's important. And I think that's what they mentioned as well is that the people that didn't go to college and still had like a plan, they're still also going to be just as successful
Definitely.
because, yeah, they had some sort of direction. And I guess you and I can kind of relate in that where I think the school system also kind of failed us in some way. Um, and like at least I wasn't aware of certain resources when I was in high school. So I didn't have a sense of direction of where
Yeah,
I was going.
definitely.
The only thing I knew is that I didn't want to go to college and that I was going to plan to make money and I was going to do a trade and that was how I was going to make money. So in some way, like that was my little form of plan. Um, that was kind of it though.
Yeah, I had nothing.
Did
No plan.
you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur or did you always
I always
know?
loved business. The idea. I think, um, I was supposed to be a doctor. Remember, my uncle was a doctor. I was supposed to be
Yeah.
a doctor. I was always gonna, go to medical school. But I came to United States. I couldn't go to college, so that was a no brainer. You can't go.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know much about business, but when I got my first job was at Burger King, then at Little Caesars, then at the convalescent hospital. Then I ended up working at Antigua,
Hmm.
and then while I while I did that, I was like always constantly thinking like I could be doing something better with my time.
Yeah.
I could be doing something for myself. Why am I working for someone else?
Yeah.
And it's not bad to work for someone else, but some people just have that drive that like I don't want to work for someone else.
Yeah.
So I took some classes in community college.
Right.
I took a finance and what is it called?
Like a
business
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 class?
class, yeah.
Hmm.
And they had me interview business owners, so I interviewed them through people. And that's how I
Okay.
got connected with them, and that's how I got a
That's really
job with
cool.
them, and that's how I ended up. For at a point, I actually had a business with them.
So you actually just went to their store and was like, "Hey, can I interview you guys?"
No,
Oh.
but kind of.
Okay.
So I used to go to the church down the street, and his sister sang at the church, so I
Hmm.
was close to her
Hmm.
boyfriend at the time, husband now, was my youth pastor, so they kind of connected me to them.
Okay.
So it was easier to approach, but I still had to go in there. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
I know your sister, and she said like, you're the owner. Can I interview you for this? Blah blah.
Hmm.
Then we connected. He offered me a job. If you need anything from me, I'm here. And yeah, I ended up. They had a business that they were gonna open. They offered me if I wanted to manage it and go in on it with
Yeah.
them with time because I don't have money. But that sadly didn't work out. But that created that like I want to
Mentality.
have
This is
my
what I
own
want.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the funny story is that while I was working at that place, burrito place, the broker owner of the where I'm at now, he
Hmm.
came by and introduced himself and said, "Hey, if you ever want to get into real estate, call me.
Yeah.
You seem to have great customer service. Let me know." I was like, "Cool." Didn't call him back until a year after, and
Hmm.
then since then I've been in real estate. But I guess that's like that little without a plan, it all led up to
Right.
having this mentality in a way.
Yeah.
Because
So
go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry, I don't
Go
want to
ahead.
interrupt you. No,
No.
I need to get out of that habit.
No, we all do it. Go ahead.
I know, but as a person that needs to gain interview skills, I need to like not interrupt people.
You'll
So go
get better.
ahead.
Repetition. I forgot what I was gonna say anyway.
Well, see,
You probably
that
forgot
was
too.
my fault. I know, and I did. No, actually, I remember now. Um, as a person in real estate, because this is important and this is something I do read often, that millennials are giving up on buying homes. Um, like, what advice would you give to people our age about buying a home or like learning how to buy a home?
I would suggest, no matter how hard it seems, how hard it looks, um, do not give up on the idea. Even if it has to be between four people, your goal should own a piece of property.
Yeah,
If it's not in LA, anywhere in California, or if not out of state,
yeah,
but your goal should be to own real estate,
right.
no matter what.
Why?
Because if you look at, if you go back there's like, what's it called? If you look at the graph of real estate, it's different from the stocks, right? But
Right.
every 10 to 15 years, there's a wave. It goes up and down, but it's never gone lower. So in 10 years, even if there's a crash, your property value is going to go up no matter what.
Right.
Even if you have to if you have to work hard, your money's still going to be there. Your investment's still going to be there.
Yeah.
It's the super safest type of investment there is.
Right.
It's tough. It's hard. Any investment is.
Yeah.
Any business is hard. So
Do you have any like steps on what people should do to save for a home? Or do you know of any like programs or anything?
well, right now it's tough for anyone that's a first-time home buyer. Any programs that they come to the table, they're not going to be looked at because of the unaffordability side of it. But there are programs. There are programs for certain people, like some people that work at USC. There's programs for them.
Hmm.
Teachers, they have certain programs. But most of those programs, you have to get like go online, sign up for them, do a class for 6 months, and then it's a long process. That's why
Yeah.
it's not really like very popular.
Hmm.
And the other thing that sucks right now is that if you do those programs and then you're competing against a cash buyer, they're not going to look at you.
Right.
It's just better to like first change your mentality, say I am going to own a property, and then start looking at the process, start saving, even if it takes a year or two, but you're working from it today. You
Yeah.
start today, eventually, even if it takes 5 years, you're going to buy a property,
Yeah.
so save. And we are able to save, but we get stuck on other things that we're doing that are not the right thing. We're spending on things that we shouldn't be spending.
Yeah.
And we all know this. It's just it's kind of hard. We're in a capitalist society.
Right.
We're being sold everything and anything everywhere we go.
Right.
So we're gonna buy.
Yeah.
So it's tough, and I understand that because I'm in the same boat. I'm a
Yeah.
millennial. They say that 33 is the age where everyone's buying right now, the
Hmm.
average. So what we got 3 years? You got 2 years? Yeah,
I mean, I've this is a goal I've been working on
yeah.
for a while,
And you will
and
attain it.
I am. I know I am. It's just it's taking me a lot longer than what I wanted, but it is. It's a lot of focus. It's a lot of self control. It's a lot of like not giving a shit what people think of you, and all those like kind of fall into just driving. Like, and I say not caring what people think because a lot of people get like too in their heads about showing people what they are doing in their current state. And the way I see it as more of like that's like an instant feel of like gratification, or it's an instant feel of just like a good feeling in general. um and that's not okay. I'm trying to think of an analogy. That's why. Okay, so let's say you're trying to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
And you try to do it the fast way by taking pills or like doing something or starving yourself. You're gonna maybe lose a few pounds. You can easily gain that really back, right?
Yeah.
Versus doing just changing your lifestyle and having some self control. In the long run, if it takes you a year to lose weight and you're still in that process, you're creating habits, healthy habits for your life, and you're losing weight along that journey.
Yeah.
And it's a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to use the same analogy in the sense of like getting a house. You want to just like flex all the things that you have and get a brand new phone, brand new shoes, like all these stupid material items, and it's like distracting you in a way from this long-term goal, this long-term journey of getting a house, which is something that a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people aspire to have. Um, and I don't know how I'm kind of comparing that because I think it's a little bit still different. I need to find a better analogy, but in the long term of the journey, you need to stay focused and just be consistent. And I
Hmm.
think that's a key. Just not caring what other people think of you and how they see you with all your material items, and just focus and then get that house.
Yeah.
And then that's the ultimate, accomplishment.
Yeah. Definitely. Or that 6 pack.
Yeah.
It's the instant satisfaction versus the delayed satisfaction.
Right. Yeah.
So it's either like, which is the hard part, right? So,
Yeah.
you were saying if you're trying to lose weight and you see a donut,
Yeah.
you either have two choices, right?
Yes.
You either eat that donut now or look away and look at that 6 pack you're gonna have in 6 months,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's
So
the
you can
same
get
thing.
that instant gratification. A donut is in comparison to like some Prada purse, you know? You get that instant gratification. You can get those are things that are easy to get at the moment, easier than a home
But they
or
hurt you the
getting a
most.
six pack.
Yeah.
Um, but those are distractions, and those are not gonna, in the long term,
Hmm.
really make you feel accomplished.
And that's why planning helps a lot because it reminds you. It's like a
Yes.
reminder of like your actual goal versus this instant, what was it? Satisfaction, gratification.
Gratification. Yeah.
Um, so if you start like thinking, because we live a life of autopilot, right?
Yeah.
We go, we wake up, we go to work, we get off, get on Netflix, get on the phone, go to sleep, do it again.
Right.
It's autopilot. But if you start looking at your life and what you want to accomplish, really want to accomplish, then you will stop living on autopilot and will start planning. And then
Yeah.
those instant satisfaction and gratification won't feel good anymore
Yeah.
because you have a goal now.
Yeah.
You have something to look forward to. And
Yeah. Being focused, and yeah. I think that's like the most important thing is to like, not most important, but like going back to like advice of things, like I'm not saying I'm this successful person. I'm absolutely not at all. Nowhere near that. But I know I'm fucking determined, and I am motivated. So I'm still like driving and I'm trying to stay focused, and it's hard, but like as far as like advice, these are like some of my habits is like just not caring. Like I this morning when I was getting dressed, I was like, I can't believe I still wear these fucking shoes. Like they are like all beat up and like I just don't care, to be
Yeah,
honest. Um it's a lot of just not caring. It's a lot of letting go. It's a lot of just like nobody's looking at you and nobody cares
definitely.
about you in the way that you think they do.
Yeah,
Um I think also it's important to get out of your comfort zone.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've been trying to get on social media forever, but I've always had that fear. First of all, I took a freaking speech class back in the day, and I dropped it right after the first speech because I can't do it. I hate being in front of people.
It's
It's
scary.
the number one fear in I don't know if the world or the
It's
United
everyone's
States. Like,
most common fear.
yeah,
Yes.
something like that. That
Public
was like the
speaking.
first thing that they mentioned in the
Yeah.
class. So um, I've been trying to push myself into getting on social media, to promote my business and
Yeah.
anything. Because right now, like whoever has the most attention is the one that's winning, and
Yes.
that's what we're living in. So
Yeah.
I have to focus on that. But I've always been, like, what are people gonna say? Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
going back to your point. So I mean, I feel like right now I'm just going through that little transformation of,
Yeah.
I just turned
Letting go too.
30 years old, so I
Yeah.
gotta get
It's
on
a
it.
feeling when you turn 30. You're like, fuck, where am I at? What am I doing? I
Yeah,
need to focus. I need to like change some habits
I'm like, I
up.
should have done this when I was 21. But everyone has a journey. Everyone has
Yes.
a different. So focus on your lane, and that's another thing. Is like everyone's experience is way different, and everyone's gonna go through life differently. So,
Yeah.
but just reevaluate yourself because you know yourself. No
Yeah.
one else does.
No one else
Yeah,
does. No one else knows
and you
all the
shouldn't.
embarrassing shit you've done in your
Yeah,
life. Nobody cares either.
and you shouldn't be competing against anyone else but yourself.
True.
Every year, go back. Cool. What did I do last year? Okay, am I doing better this year?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good. Okay, well, what am I gonna do next year?
Yes.
Because at least, even though I'm not where I want to be, I'm nowhere like close.
Yeah.
I'm not successful. I'm not nothing yet.
Yeah.
But at least every year I've been better than the year before.
Yes, I can
That's
say the
for sure.
same too. Every year I'm getting better. I'm more focused. I'm following through. Last year and this year I'm still trying to stay in consistency because that is the most like important skill to gain is being consistent. So I'm really trying because sometimes I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes I'm like, fuck, can I keep up with this podcast? Can I do this? Like, am I interesting enough to talk about every fucking week for an hour? Like, I don't know, but I'm trying to be relatable and I'm trying to get people to share a story because everyone's experience is interesting, whether you think you're boring or not. Like, everyone has a different experience, and that's what I'm looking for, is
And
hearing stories.
not only that, but like you see, a lot of people used to write a diary, right?
Yeah.
They used to, and then like later on in life, they go back like, oh damn, I wrote that. I
Yes.
was in that position.
Yeah.
So your podcast, the people that come by with their interesting stories could come back like in 10 years, like, oh snap,
Yeah. And
yo, I said that.
that's another thing too. I want people to look back and be like, do I still feel the same way when I said
You can
this?
see your growth.
Yes, that's important. I also would like to interview like some of my older family members
See
because
their
I think it's
experience to learn from
important
it.
to like still keep their voice and their story of what they've experienced. Eventually, I'm gonna get there. I'm just trying to gain like more interview skills because I
Yeah.
still get really fucking nervous.
No, if you keep going, you're gonna succeed. Because I heard, I was listening to another podcast, and they said that social media is saturated with people. Like
Yes.
TikTok is saturated with cat videos, this and that, blah blah. And like if you post on there and you're
Hmm.
trying to be educational or anything that's beneficial to the community, you're gonna get lost in that. And the span
Yes.
of our attention is very low, so it's saturated. Instagram saturated, Facebook saturated, YouTube saturated,
Hmm.
but podcast is not. I think there's only like 150,000 podcasts um, that are actually posting once a week.
Okay, like consistently.
consistently. Everyone else is like
Fell off.
once a month,
Oh, okay.
once every 2 months. So if you continue, you're gonna be seen. And you
Yeah,
will.
that's interesting. I don't know the stats of podcasting yet, but I think you're right in your point of being saturated. But the difference in some of these people is their consistency. And there are a lot of people that want like that instant gratification or that instant feeling of success and fame, which is not really what I'm looking for in this podcast, but they want that like instant like popularity contest, and like that shit takes work. And the people that are popular and successful, it's because they've been doing it a long time. You'll notice that people that go viral, they go viral and then it's like a one hit wonder in a way. Most of the time. There are some people that like can maintain it, but that was pretty much like they peaked.
Yeah.
And then there's like they have nowhere to go from there. People that are being consistent and just like still driving, those are people that like in time they're getting that long term like success. Kind of the same analogy, or if I'm trying to still find an analogy with the house thing, but if you're consistent and you're focused and you keep doing it, like you're gonna get a better result
Yeah.
in the long run.
Consistency. There's
Yes.
like this 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the stuff you do, look, out of the 100% of what you do, 20% will create more better outcome than the 80%.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you do it, the more likely you will come up with something successful.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
I forgot the name of that law. Like it's like an actual 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more advice?
No. No, we're good.
Me either.
I haven't ate. It's already what?
It's already almost. It is too. Okay, so we'll end it here. All right. Just say bye. Do you have any last words before you die? I'm just kidding.
That was scary.
No last words.
That's it.
Okay, so you'll be back.
Yeah, if I get invited again.
Okay.
We're gonna have a bunch of followers by then.
Okay, for sure. Are you starting a channel, YouTube channel? No, we won't include
well,
this.
I already have, because if you have a Gmail, you have a channel, you have a YouTube. So I've been putting videos up there, but same thing. It's just I'm just like trying to get comfortable in front of a camera, because in the business that I'm in, the more my face is out there, the more likely someone's gonna come and be like, "Hey, I want to sell my house, or I want to buy a house, or I want to invest."
Yes.
I need your help, or so.
If anyone wants to buy a house, this is your guy.
Or sell.
Or sell a house. Hit him up. He's very knowledgeable of.
Follow me on all my social.
Well, I'll tag your social medias, but all right.
It was a pleasure being on your podcast.
Thank you.
It was a first time experience. It was cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.